everyone, welcome to the third prose unit in your syllabus called Two Stories About Flying. This prose is divided into two parts. We are going to do the second part in this video called The Black Aeroplane by Frederick Forsyth. In this video, I will first introduce the author and the story to you. In the next part, I'll read and explain the text line by line along with the difficult words and their meanings. And in the third part, we will analyze the major themes in the text. So let's jump straight into the introduction. Frederick Forsyth was born on August 25, 1938 in England. He is a British author of best-selling thriller novels. Forsyth is known for writing realistic thrillers. His style is journalistic with fast-paced plots. Forsyth served in the Royal Air Force as a pilot before becoming a journalist and a best-selling author. This story is written from the perspective of a pilot. He also worked as a spy for MI6, a British intelligence agency, for over 20 years. Let me brief you about the story now. This is a mysterious story which leaves the reader wondering in the end. The protagonist is a pilot who gets stuck in a storm due to a wrong decision. He finally gets saved by an unknown, mysterious aeroplane. Now that I have introduced the story, let's start reading it. The moon was coming up in the east behind me, and stars were shining in the clear sky above me. There wasn't a cloud in the sky. So the narrator starts by saying that the moon is in the sky and the stars are shining. He says that the sky is clear. There are no clouds in the sky. It is evident that this is night time and the narrator can see the sky very clearly. I was happy to be alone high up above the sleeping countryside. I was flying my old Dakota airplane over France back to England. I was dreaming of my holiday and looking forward to being with my family. I looked at my watch, 1:30 in the morning. So we are told that our narrator is a pilot. He is flying his aeroplane over the countryside. Countryside means non-urban village area. And where is he flying? He is flying over France and is going towards England, his own country. He is looking forward, meaning waiting eagerly to meet his family to spend his holidays with them. It is already 1:30 in the morning, so our narrator really wants to go back to his family in England. I should call Paris Control soon, I thought. As I looked down past the nose of the aeroplane, I saw the lights of a big city in front of me. I switched on the radio and said, Paris Control, Dakota DS-088 here. Can you hear me? I am on my way to England. Over. So the pilot, our narrator, calls up the control room and informs them that he is returning back to England. The voice from the radio answered me immediately. DS-088, I can hear you. You ought to turn 12 degrees west now. DS-088, over. I checked the map and the compass, switched over to my second and last fuel tank and turned the Dakota 12 degrees west towards England. I'll be in time for breakfast, I thought. A good big English breakfast. Everything was going well. It was an easy flight. So our narrator calls the control room to inform them that he is coming back to England. A voice answers him immediately and instructs him to turn 12 degrees towards the west. So the narrator changes to his last and second fuel tank. This means that after this tank there will be no fuel in the aeroplane. He also checks his map and compass. They're working just fine. So finally he follows the instructions given to him by the control tower and he turns towards the west. The narrator is now flying towards England and is still thinking about his family. He hopes of having a good big English breakfast with his family. He thinks to himself that it is an easy flight. He just cannot wait to see his family again. Paris was about 150 kilometers behind me when I saw the clouds. Storm clouds. They were huge. They looked like black mountains standing in front of me across the sky. I knew I could not fly up and over them, and I did not have enough fuel to fly around them to the north or south. So suddenly the narrator notices that the sky is now filled with dark storm clouds. Remember how in the beginning he explains that sky was clear and stars were visible. There were no clouds. But now after flying for 150 kilometers from Paris, he finds that he's surrounded by huge, big storm clouds which look like black mountains. The narrator knows that he couldn't fly over them and it is also impossible to fly around them towards the north or the south. And why is that? Because he was flying on his last jet fuel tank. Remember I told you that it was his second and last fuel tank. There was no extra fuel with him. I ought to go back to Paris, I thought, but I wanted to get home. I wanted that breakfast. I'll take the risk, I thought, and flew that old Dakota straight into the storm. So the narrator knows that the right decision is to go back to Paris, to France, from where he had started to fly. However, he decided to go right into the storm. So he took a wrong decision of getting into the storm to take a huge risk. He wanted to take a huge risk because he wanted to go back home very badly. He wanted to have his breakfast like he had dreamt. So you see how the narrator took a risky decision and he took it very suddenly. He did not think about it much, right? Inside the clouds, everything was suddenly black. It was impossible to see anything outside the aeroplane. The old aeroplane jumped and twisted in the air. I looked at the compass. I couldn't believe my eyes. The compass was turning round and round. It was dead. It could not work. The other instruments were suddenly dead too. I tried the radio. Paris Control, can you hear me? So the narrator had entered inside the storm and it was completely dark. He could not see anything. The clouds were so dark that he could not see anything. His old aeroplane had started to twist in the air, meaning that it was not stable and the storm was very, very strong. The aeroplane was also old, like he has mentioned. He suddenly realizes that his compass and other instruments were dead suddenly. He tried contacting the Paris control room through the radio and he frantically calls them to get directions. He says, Paris control room, can you hear me? Apparently, they can't hear him. There was no answer. The radio was dead too. I had no radio, no compass, and I could not see where I was. I was lost in the storm. So soon, our narrator realizes that he's completely lost. He says that I was lost in the storm and his radio was not working. So he had no radio, no compass, and no other instrument while he was stuck in a really powerful cloud storm, and there was no other way to get out of it also. Then, in the black clouds quite near me, I saw another aeroplane. It had no lights on its wings, but I could see it flying next to me through the storm. I could see the pilot's face turned towards me. I was very glad to see another person. He lifted one hand and waved. Follow me, he was saying. Follow me. So, as the narrator is completely lost in the storm, he notices that there is another aeroplane flying next to him. It has no lights on its wings, but the pilot asks the narrator to follow him. He waves at him and asks him to follow him. He's very glad. Our narrator is very glad, very happy to find that he is not alone in the storm. He knows that I'm lost, I thought. He's trying to help me. He turned his aeroplane slowly to the north in front of my Dakota so that it would be easier for me to follow him. I was very happy to go behind the strange aeroplane like an obedient child. So the pilot of the other aeroplane starts to turn north and starts flying in front of the narrator's aeroplane. The narrator thinks to himself that the other pilot knows that he is lost in the storm and he is just trying to help our narrator. Dakota is the name of the narrator's aeroplane. So finally he decides to follow this strange black aeroplane like an obedient, like a sincere child. After half an hour, the strange black aeroplane was still there in front of me in the clouds. Now there was only enough fuel in the Dakota's last tank to fly for 5 or 10 minutes more. I was starting to feel frightened again, but then he started to go down and I followed through the storm. So it has been half an hour since they both are flying. The strange black aeroplane is still showing the narrator his way. He is following this unknown aeroplane, but he soon realizes that he does not have enough fuel left. He can only fly for 5 to 10 minutes with the fuel that is left. He becomes frightened, means scared. Suddenly he realizes that the black aeroplane has started to go down in a downwards direction. The narrator also followed him. So finally they have started to come down from the sky. Suddenly I came out of the clouds and saw two long straight lines of lights in front of me. It was a runway, an airport. I was safe. I turned to look for my friend in the black aeroplane, but the sky was empty. There was nothing there. The black aeroplane was gone. I could not see it anywhere. So as soon as the narrator comes out of the storm, he spots the runway, the landing strip on the airport. Look at the exclamation marks here. A runway, an airport. I was safe. It shows that the narrator is very excited to see the runway. He's very excited to see the airport because he is finally safe. And as soon as he decided to thank the other pilot for helping him, he turns around only to find out that the sky was completely empty. He could not find that black aeroplane anywhere. I landed and was not sorry to walk away from the old Dakota near the control tower. I went and asked a woman in the control center where I was and who the other pilot was, and I wanted to say thank you. She looked at me very strangely and then laughed. Another aeroplane? Up there in the storm? No other aeroplane were flying tonight. Yours was the only one I could see on the radar. So when the narrator finally landed in an airport, he quickly starts to walk away from his old aeroplane towards the control tower. He just wants to get away from it because he had just escaped a huge accident, a disaster. He goes to the control center and talks to the woman who is in charge, and he asks her where he was. He also asks her about the other pilot who was flying with him. He says that he wants to thank him for saving his life in the storm. The lady laughs and tells him that there was no other aeroplane in the sky. She looks at him strangely. Strangely means in a weird fashion because she doesn't understand what the author is talking about. So, who helped me arrive there safely without a compass or a radio and without any more fuel in my tanks? Who was the pilot on the strange black aeroplane flying in the storm without lights? So, in the end, the narrator asks himself these questions as to who the strange pilot was, who saved his life, who was flying in the storm without any lights on the wings of his airplane. And as readers, also, we have the same questions in our minds. So, this was the story. Now that we have read the story, let's move on to the analysis. Let's discuss the major themes in the story. The first major theme is mystery. The author has created a mysterious atmosphere by introducing a black aeroplane which disappears, vanishes in the end. Since the narrator is unable to find the mysterious black aeroplane or the pilot who is flying it, it evokes a sense of wonderment, a sense of curiosity in our minds as readers. The second theme explored in the story is courage and hope. This story clearly gives us a message that it is important not to lose courage, to be brave in difficult times, in the times of hardship. One should not lose hope in the times of distress. If you are ready to help yourself, God will help you too. And if you give up, no one can save you. That is all. Thank you.